So, today we're talking about facing your fears, and I'm going to give you some practical tools that you can start using right away that will help you get unstuck. So, if you're new here, my name is Devon, and I share my experiences in starting over later in life. So, everything from financial freedom and mindset and growth strategies, and how to rebuild yourself in this crazy new world that we live in. So let's talk about probably the most common fear that everyone seems to be facing on and off, but particularly recently, and that would be financial fears. This is really about money. And so for me, it was coming out of a marriage. For you, it could be losing a job, it could be anything. So there I was in my mid 50s, and I had been working in finance, in mergers and acquisitions. It was a good job, but it was a very lumpy income, is what they call it. When you're doing deals, and you could have a lot of deals come through, or they may not come through. So it doesn't work well when there's only one income stream in the home. So I had a lot of fears around what I was going to do going forward after my divorce to create current income and to build something that I could own and make sure that I was going to leave a legacy for my kids. So, I was very frozen with fear. I can definitely tell you that. It was a very, very difficult time in my life. But the one thing that I know is that, and I learned this, but if you want a different life, you have to be willing to do something differently. Because if you're not willing to do something differently, nothing's going to change, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you've heard the expression, doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. So you may be frozen in your fears and you're looking at something that you don't like, or you're afraid of, or that needs to change. And so for me, it was really getting sick and tired of being sick and tired and being in that place. And for me, I refuse to be a victim. I refuse to blame others. Have I had bad moments? For sure. But when you're going through that thing, whatever it is, you know that you can't stay there. You have to get out of bed. You have to deal if you want a different life. And that's me. I'm a survivor. I've always, I fall down, I get back up. And that is really, it's the grit and the resilience and the persistence that has to show up if you want to have a better life and get unstuck. So what did I do? I started reading everything I could get my hands on. But what I would tell you today that you could implement today is to start with small wins, okay? Do one small thing, ideally first thing in the morning. You've heard the talk about making your bed, right? Do one little thing. Now, when I mentor people who have faith, as I do, we talk about praying or visualizing the life that you want, because our thoughts are so powerful. What we think about, we bring about. So in order to have a different thought pattern, a couple things come to mind. Number one, I could not be under the influence. So anything that's going to change your ability to have clear thoughts, clear thinking, right, has to go. No alcohol, drugs, whatever it is that is going to help you cope is also going to change your ability to think clearly. So got to cut it out. You got to cut it out. And it is what it is, right? You have to be willing to do that so you can think clearly. And then the small wins. Now, regarding the small wins, I started talking about praying and having a faith and visualizing. But when are you going to do that? I know for me, in the morning, I'm up, I'm out, I'm doing my thing. So when I mentor someone, I suggest that they take something they're already doing, like showering in the morning. Maybe you get up, you exercise, you go out, you walk your dog, you have your coffee. You're going to get in the shower, right? When you do that, that is a great time to pray if you have faith, and or visualize the life that you want, the thoughts, right? thinking good thoughts, having positive thoughts. It's not just positive thinking, it's believing that you are the person that can become the way you want to become so that you can have the life that you want to have that is different than when you're in the thick of it. Okay? So, doing one small thing every day. Also, making a list of the top 2 or 3 or 4 things that you need to get done each day. I've spoken about that before. You can do it the night before when you go to bed, but if you forget, you can do it the next morning. Write down a list while your coffee is brewing, right? While you're waiting for your dog outside to do his business, whatever it is. Find that time and build that habit of writing down what you need to get done and then celebrate those small things, okay? Now, the last thing that I'm going to say here before we get too deep is tracking, okay? Tracking is really good for your confidence and for building habits. Now, if you like to do everything digitally, that's fine. But I also have a paper, I have paper calendars and I have paper notebooks, and I write things down and I speak them out. So thinking, writing, and speaking is how you build a new habit. I also, for the summer, got a calendar, which I used to do all the time before we all were living online, and I put a nice big calendar on my refrigerator. But you can put it wherever you want. And I have my pencil. I like to use pencils so I can erase if I need to. And I just mark right on the calendar the exercise I did that day, the food that I ate if that's my goal, the one small thing that I accomplished that I wanted to do, that I didn't have the candy or whatever it is that you're trying to change. So that tracking is really good because then you can remember exactly when you missed what you wanted to do. Now, let's talk about creating these habits. I'm told, and it works for myself, that if I have a bad day, so I eat a bunch of ice cream. I don't know why. I just did. It was in the refrigerator, and I had a bunch of ice cream. So the next day for that particular habit, I missed it. I failed. It's okay, right? But the next day, I'm going to want to get back on track, because if I miss 2 days in a row, now I'm building a habit that's going the wrong way. Okay? So this is one thing that I wanted to share with you too. So it's okay to miss. No one's perfect, but just get back on track. And so that is how I have dealt with facing my fears. And those are some practical tools that you can implement today. I want to get into the specific fears, right? Because we talked a little bit about having the money fears, because this is where I jumped in and I found a new business and income stream and source of revenues, right? Because of the way the world works now. And it's an online agency that I do, but you can do whatever you need to do. But you want to write down, and you can ask AI if you don't know what the options are for you. And these newer options are happening all the time. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit more. One more thing I want to mention, I think I said that before, but this is the last one, okay? With regard to tracking and having fears of financial insecurity, okay? In business, we call it a P&L, profit and loss. But for your own life, you're going to want to get out a piece of paper, or if you have it on your bank app, and you're going to want to track every single expense for the month and look at what you're spending your money on, and you would be surprised. And what can you scale back? What can you live without? It doesn't mean forever, right? There was a time when I didn't get a manicure for many, many, many months, and I did it myself. It wasn't the end of the world, right? I had to cut out all kinds of things. You learn to get by with things that you can get by with, right? So lowering your expenses by tracking your expenses And then we're going to get into different sources of income and revenue streams, okay? And I want to share with you what I did, which is building an agency, which also allows me to build passive income. But there are so many ways that you can create an income stream. And again, use AI if you don't. Just ask it, this is how old I am, this is what I enjoy doing, here's what I'm struggling with, and see what it says. You would be surprised, and then it remembers and it will refer back to that. Okay, so I think that's all we're going to get into today with facing your fears, practical tips of things that you can do, and also tracking your progress and your habits, okay? Let me know what else you want to talk about, but we're going to keep going with this, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. Okay, see you soon.